Hello, we are Team Eggs with Legs. My name is Riley Dickerson, and I am the producer.
Hi, my name is Jake Rose, and I'm the lead programmer on Eggs with Legs.
Hi, I'm Tyler Lamon, and I'm the lead level designer for the game, as well as acting as the product owner.
My name is Brooke Pendleton, and I am the lead artist.
I'm Max Weintraub. I'm the systems mechanics designer and the QA lead.
So let's get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Junkpunk is an action-packed, punk-inspired, junk and wire robotic combat game that focuses on you, a junkyard mechanic. In your spare time, you create robots built to compete in underground combat tournaments. So let's talk about the core values of Junkpunk. The big pillars for Junkpunk are customization, building cool robots, and chaos.
The modular system is the poster child of our game's customization. By allowing players to freely attach parts to nodes, we've created a level of replayability and strategy, as well as uniqueness in every player's build.
Customization is built to allow you to fight with your preferred playstyle. If you're more aggressive, you can go for saw blades and hammers, while a more defensive player might prefer shields and ranged weapons. It's all up to you.
The extenders are the real showstopper of this customization system. It allows the player to create more nodes from existing nodes, scaling up the possibility for how the player chooses to approach the combat.
We wanted our robots to be as cool as possible, so we introduced fun and unique weapons like sledgehammers, flamethrowers, and saw blades that you can attach to your robot wherever you want.
We wanted the robots to scale in terms of size too, and by using the extenders, you can create massively unique creations that tower and loom over your opponent.
The environment of this game also feeds into this pillar, since we felt like a part of what makes fighting robots so cool is where you're fighting them. The level that you see in this trailer takes place in an old abandoned warehouse that has been repurposed and fitted for destruction, including an acid pit to hopefully push your opponents into.
For chaos, we had 3 steps we had to follow: junk, punk, and clunk.
Junk, the idea that the environment around you is trash, which has really inspired a lot of our level and weapon designs. We wanted at least 25 OSHA violations per level, and we really think we can achieve that.
Punk. The idea that the world around you is trash. Corporations are manipulative, the ecosystem is dead, and a revolution is well underway. Things in the world around you should feel chaotic, and that can be seen in how the environments feel and read.
Clunk. Our game is a little rough around the edges, but that's how we like it. The interactions you have with different items and weapons of the game are malfunctions of your robot, and the results of building it with scrap. Giving our game just the right balance of feeling good and playing as intended has allowed us to fix the bugs that keep the clunk that our QAs really seem to enjoy.
So let's talk about the world of Junkpunk. Our game takes place in the future of an ex-rural Nebraska, now known as New-Braska. It's a scrap heap in the middle of nowhere. The world is run by monopolies, and even the bare essentials of life are difficult and expensive to obtain. People have had enough. A revolution is starting, and you'll be at the center of it. You play as an unnamed scrapyard mechanic as you join an underground movement called the Arc of Action, a group known for holding robot tournaments where you compete for cash. It's one of the quickest ways to get rich, so long as you have the skills to win. Some participate just to enjoy the chaos, but you have much more ambitious goals. As you earn more cash, you'll build bigger and better robots and climb the ranks of the tournaments until you're able to face off against the global elite and beat them at their own game.
So with the world as ripe with political unrest and potential for commentary, it might be wise to contextualize it. Junkpunk aims to be an E10 plus game, and the world we've created is meant less to be a rigid storyline that the character focuses on, and more of a framework for the kind of world we're trying to build. We want to include these themes of punk culture, but not have a prevalent storyline that weaves a narrative that sides with one way or the other. Here's a quick demonstration of our game in action, to show you what I mean. Build your robot any way you'd like. With our modular construction system, building a robot like this has never been easier. With several parts in your arsenal, how will you create your weapon of destruction? When you're ready to fight, enter the arena and fight wheel to wheel and let those sparks fly. So come test your mettle at Junkpunk Arena.
They say one man's trash is another man's treasure. Our game separates itself visually in 3 major ways. the color palette, the shape language, and the funky junk. In terms of what we're aiming for a color palette, we want to stick to more earthy colors for this level. I believe that this still makes the game's environment pop with a nice feel, and the pastels naturally complement the low poly art style. While there are more muted pastels than some of our other art, we wanted to value the mood that the inside of an abandoned factory may bring. Shape language is a feature that we have placed a lot of value in to influence the future of robot customization. We want shapes to convey what kind of object something is, with rounder objects being high in defense, bulkier and square objects being better at offense, and sharper objects being used for speed. A lot of the art direction in our game is garbage. Literally. I took a lot of inspiration from repurposing old objects and making them into something new, like a fire extinguisher flamethrower and a coffee tin hammer. I wanted to take the junk, construct it into something punk, add a little bit of funk, and give it that unique Junkpunk touch.
So, you boot up Junkpunk. Now how does it play?
As soon as the player hits the start button, they are immediately loaded into the garage level and presented with a blank slate robot. You can rotate the camera and click on notes to start building in a very intuitive way.
However, to keep things interesting, there's an upper limit on how many extenders and how many weapons you can put on any one robot. How strong can you get without going above the cost limit?
After you build your robot, it's time to destroy your enemy's bot. Press the Enter Arena button to face off against an enemy and test your metal against them.
At this point, you have to bash, crash, and smash your way to victory by hitting your opponent with whatever weapons you equipped. If the player can avoid getting sliced up by the enemy, you might just secure your victory. So what are the risks with Junkpunk? Our big risks that we've been working to address with this project can be broken down into 3 categories: creating the junk, destroying the junk, and controlling the junk.
It's not easy to create tons of trash when you're just one artist. I have been focusing more on the needs of the game, but there are tons of assets that are wants, which will add much more depth to the arena environments.
Although I already knew how to design fun levels, I didn't know much about lighting or how to bring a level from a gray box into a final product. I also had to spend a lot of time researching and tweaking lighting before it started to look good.
When you envision a world of chaotic robot combat, you can imagine millions of things that can go into it. That in itself is a double-edged sword. I've had to talk with the team and construct spreadsheets with MVPs, wants, needs, and ideas for us to all talk about. Keeping the team's scope in check while still allowing the flow and creativity has been one of my top priorities throughout this project.
Our game is looking very good right now, and as we've been adding in VFX, it's only been getting better. When you hit a robot, there are damage numbers that appear, sound effects that play, and sparks that fly off the robot. It's great to have all these systems implemented, but down the road we want to add even more special effects and sound effects based on future additions to the level, as well as a way to properly manage all of these processor-heavy components. The implementation of each individual part is required to both properly interact with other parts while not crossing wires between parts' individual scripts. Our current architecture has helped to minimize this, but we are also hoping to create interfaces that will allow necessary connections to be implemented cleaner, as well as allowing intentional interactions between our systems to occur. This also creates a good divide for possible recruited programmers.
Having a fully customizable robot is as exciting as it is hard to balance. Luckily, our programmer has created clearly labeled tools that allow myself or Tyler to quickly go into the build and change whatever variables we need. We still need a lot of time and data, but as the QA lead, collecting that info aligns perfectly with my specialization. UI design is something that I enjoy doing, but this is admittedly my first time designing the UI for a team project. While it has been going well, it's still a learning process, and it isn't as efficient now as it will be in the future.
Why don't we show you how far we've come? Sprint 2 was when we initially began development. We tested several different camera angles, as well as created the first movement system. In Sprint 5, we were set on a camera angle, and now just needed to figure out the movement system. Sprint 6 was the overhaul on the building system. We introduced a new kind of attachment, the extender, which allowed for much more creative robots to be built by the player. We also added the enemy health UI. In Sprint 7, we added VFX and sound effects, which added much more depth to the player interactions during gameplay. For our Step 3 build, we introduced a new level, the warehouse. In Sprint 8, we iterated on that warehouse, adding an acid pit, fixing the damage numbers, and adding a win-loss state. In Sprint 9, we completely overhauled the lighting, making it look much more like the idea we had in mind.
For the game's sound effects, using a sound library has been in our plans since the beginning. However, we wanted to give them some more dynamic elements that reacted to the game as well. Our sound library of choice was Zapsplat.com, where they offer royalty-free sound recordings that do not require attribution in the file game, all for a minimum monthly price. For the music, I've actually composed all of it myself. In my free time over the last few years, I've been producing music, and I've used old tracks as songs in the game. This was lucky as well, so I could spend more time on programming of the game itself.
So, who is Junkpunk for? The biggest checkboxes for Quantic Foundry motivators are for people who like action, creativity, and mastery. Junkpunk is for people who play games with tags like robot, building, and PvE arena. Each one of these games shown here falls into those tags, and the tag listed for them is their biggest pool. I use these as references for our analysis when researching our game. So once we're wrapped up, where do we want to publish? Currently, our game is on itch.io for free. It's a great indie platform and allows us to distribute our game at no cost at all. It also has really nifty links. Next semester, our plan is to put our game on Steam, but we would need to get a Steam developer's license. That's all, folks. And from everybody at Eggs with Legs,
Thank you for watching.
watching.